Thanks everyone for joining me today. I'm excited to have Bill Menkveld from Greentronics with us today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about some pretty exciting stuff that he's been doing. Bill, just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into this.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I'm Bill. I serve as Vice President, Sales and Administration for Greentronics. Our business has been in business since '94. Before that, we both had, my brother and I, who started this business, we both had different careers, but '94 made the start, and it was, as some people might say, nothing more than a glorified hobby at first, but it's grown into a real business, and we're very thankful.
That's fantastic, Bill. Really excited to hear about that. When a passion turns into a career, that's fantastic. Your title for this presentation, a little strange. So, Heart for Farming, Ag Tech, Making It Better. So tell us a little bit about how that title is you came up with.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to convey our love for farming and also our love for ag tech in that title. So that's where it is. As I said in the introduction, Bert and I started working together in '94. We started Greentronics then. We had both been raised on a small dairy farm, and we learned there at a young age, and as many other farmers will have learned working on the farm and growing up on farms, is that farming isn't a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a whole lifestyle, and we grew to appreciate that lifestyle and love it. And we still do, and that's where our heart for farming comes from. And on the farm, we also learned that it's very important that you always try to do a better job in less time. That's just the way it is in farming. It still is like that everywhere, and generally in business. But that's what we learned, and our parents were pretty good at picking up new technologies as they came along to help with their work on the farm. And they also were very good at keeping records. And we learned that that's a very important part of farming. If you don't record what you do and measure what you do, you have a very hard time managing for the future and planning ahead. So we learned those two things, and that is at the basis of what we do today at Greentronics. Yeah, so in '94, when we started, Bert was actually into a career in electronics engineering, and I had ended up in the world of farm equipment. And through some connections, we got challenged to design a yield monitor for potato harvesters. At the time, back in '94, more people were using yield monitors on grain combines, and potato farmers here in Ontario and elsewhere were interested in finding out if that technology could be adopted to potato harvesters. Potatoes, of course, have much higher input costs compared to corn and beans, also much higher revenues. So there was real interest in learning whether you could do some yield mapping in potatoes and learn from that and then manage your farm better. And a very short time later, we were approached by a group of potato farmers from Manitoba, and they wanted us to develop an automatic boom height control system for their potato harvesters. And here the goal was that you would take some work away from the machine operator and at the same time control the drop height a little bit better than what you can do manually. And of course, by controlling drop height, you control bruise percentage. Bruise causes issues during storage and leads to higher grade out percentage. So that was the goal there, is to allow that machine and the operator to do a better job with that system. And Bert and I were pretty green and naive at the time. We took both of those challenges on, not really realizing ahead of time what that would involve. But full credit to Bert. He designed those products and made them a success. We were able to capture some sales early on that really encouraged us. We worked with some growers here in Ontario that were super good at giving us feedback and encouragement. And I want to mention the Vander's Egg family from the Allison area. They were just very instrumental in helping our business become successful. Yeah, so we've grown since that time. Our team is much bigger than just Bert and myself. And we were blessed with a dealer network through North America and even outside of North America. And it's been fantastic, and it's been really good to work on developing tools that can help make farming better, ag tech tools that make farming better. Yeah, that's our goal.
That's fantastic. It's a great kind of history of where you started, how you got started. Now let's move forward to today, and always hear about people talking about sustainable farming, regenerative agriculture, field to plate traceability. These are things that you know we hear in media, especially when you get outside of ag media and you talk about just regular consumer media. And I don't think that there's a very strong understanding of what that means. Can you tell us a little bit about how that is part of what you're doing with Greentronics?
Yeah, that'll be a pleasure. Yeah. So all these terms fit with our own philosophy, Andrew, and it's something our parents taught us, is that farming involves planning for the future, and many farms, you do that all the time when you're farming. You make short-term plans, but many of them are long-term plans. Many of them are multi-generational plans. So a farm is a business that is very often family owned, and the plan is for it to be sustainable in the future for the family, provide a business for the family. And along with that is a deep concern for um, farm practices that you use today and in the future that will help your farm to be sustainable as you go forward. And that fits totally with us. That is our own philosophy. Our parents were very good in things like crop rotation and good soil management practices, for instance, and herd improvement, all those things that fit into that term sustainable farming. So at Greentronics, we've been involved in a number of different projects. I mentioned yield monitoring, that has gone from potato equipment to many different types of root crop equipments, beets and carrots and onions, and further afield even into grapes and sugarcane. So when you capture data, you can manage your farm better if you look at the reports and work with your agronomist on learning what it all means. Those are really important things that help your farm exist in the future, and you can learn from the information you capture. Through our boom height control, of course, we have a system that helps your sprayer or your harvester do better. You reduce drift, you apply your chemicals more accurately. In the case of sprayers, you reduce, if you put our system on a piece of tillage equipment, you reduce wear and tear, fuel economy is better, and so on. So in that sense, we are part of sustainable farming practices. I can give you some other examples. So the last few years. And when I think about sustainable farming practices and traceability, I guess what I want to say is that many of these practices, when you take them on the farm, they cost you upfront money, and the payback is sometimes many years coming. At the same time, the businesses that develop the technology that makes these practices possible, they have their own costs to overcome. And so that's why, in a way, when you talk about sustainable farming, I see this as a society-wide responsibility. If our society wants our farmers to farm with practices that make farming sustainable, then everybody has to play a role. And we do see that happening when you look at how our governments use tax dollars to put support programs in place that we can access as small businesses and farmers can access to implement new technologies on their farms, then some of that shared responsibility is already there. Maybe it needs to be improved and increased in the future. I can't say, but I can say that at Greentronics, we've benefited from some of these programs. So at one point we qualified for some seed capital funding that we received to start a project on our traceability. So we've worked on, how do I start that? One of the things we learned, for instance, in the potato farming world is that there is a lot of record keeping happening to comply with GAP rules. That's very important nowadays. You're producing a product that goes directly to the consumer in some cases. So traceability is very important from a food safety point of view. We noticed that there's a lot of work involved with keeping all these records. So there was some idea in our minds that what about automating some of these steps and making that workload easier? And at the same time, we thought, what if we could capture many more data points so that the information isn't just useful to fill in a gap report, but also carries some agronomic importance? And so that's what we did with this seed capital. We made a start towards a product that initially potato farmers, but possibly also other farmers can use to track the production of their crop on the farm and where it is stored. So basically what we did is we designed a system that allows you to track where each load of product comes from on the farm and where it ends up on the farm in storage. And so what the customer gets, what the farmer gets from us is a piece of software on his computer and some hardware to connect to his equipment. And the software allows you to see two maps on the screen. One is a field map and the other is a bin map. It's a 3D bin map, and you see them side by side on the screen, and these two maps are linked. So you can pick an area in the bin map, a zone that you're interested in seeing. You click on it and it immediately highlights the area in the field where that crop came from. That makes sense, right? So that's very important to growers. Not only gives you that traceability recording that way that you have to comply with anyway, but it because there's so much detail, you can do more with it. So for example, you can look at your crop that was so perfect when you put it into storage, and now when it's shipping time, it doesn't look that great anymore. So then you want to know, well, what happened? Is this a result of storage management in some way? Or is this something that went before that? Is a problem that began in the field? And with this program right in front of you, you can make these links very quickly. You can say, this lot of crop in my storage came from here in the field. And what happened in the field? You can look at scouting records for that area in the field. You can look at soil characteristics, soil maps. You can look at weather data for the day that you were harvesting, and so on. That it creates all these links and allows you to learn from what you see in storage and how can I prevent that in the future. So that's where this product fits into the sustainable farming practice that we'd love to be part of.
And I would imagine not just for the farmer or for the retailer, the consumer has more confidence because they know they can figure out where this product is coming from, and they are more conscious of what they're eating. So I think overall that on the consumer side, that makes a very strong argument for what you're doing there. I think that's fantastic. So with Greentronics, you guys have done a lot of stuff in the technology side of things. What's coming down the pipe? What do you see as being an important part of what you're doing down the road?
Yeah, we've totally enjoyed, as farm boys, so to speak, we've really enjoyed developing products that make farming better, as I said in the title. But for us, it's never a problem coming up with ideas. The problem lies, and we have a long list of ideas and new features that we want to develop. And thankfully, we're so blessed with some of our young lads taking a part in our business. So we feel that we have a future there. We are going into the next generation, and that is really fantastic. We've been able to hire other people. So we have a really great engineering team and production team, and there's lots of room for growth. And as I said, we have lots of ideas in the pipeline that we can work on. And selecting the right one is sometimes the biggest challenge. But but yeah, one of the things that's happening, Andrew, and it's really interesting, and I'm sure everyone is aware of that, but when you think of the automotive industry and the developments that have happened there in the last few years, and as far as the developing self-driving cars go, there's enormous technology that goes into making that product. And that technology, because it's now much more widely used and developed, the price point of that technology has really come down. And that allows us to look at some of that technology and implement it into ag tech. So we're looking at the moment, one of our projects that we're working on has to do with vision technology. We want to learn how we can use vision technology and add it to, for instance, our yield monitor, so that it captures data better. It will allow us to deal with issues with trash and that comes along on the harvester. It will probably help us to give growers an idea of grade and size distribution in the field and so on. So those are really big projects. We are getting some help with that, financial assistance, but also assistance directly from different colleges and universities. And those relationships are really fantastic. Yeah, well, those are some of the things we're working on.
That's exciting. Great.
Yeah.
So, before we end our conversation here, is there anything else that you want to talk about as far as what Greentronics is doing, or overall in the industry that you think is going to be important for viewers?
So let me come around that in this way. I love working with farmers in general, but there's always a group of growers who seem to be at the forefront. They are keen to look at new technology. They are keen to learn and to find out what they can implement on their farms that will help them do a better job and be sustainable in the future, of course. But that group of people is so exciting to work with, and we've been so fortunate that we've been in touch and we've formed relationships with some of these. That is really good, and I would encourage any grower to not be afraid of technology, but to look at it and see, okay, this tool will let me do this on my farm, and talk it over with different people, with agronomists, with dealers, with equipment suppliers, and so on, and see what's available that would fit. I still run into many people who are a little bit hesitant to basically put themselves out there and say, okay, let me learn about this. Let me understand how this can help me do a better job at home on the farm. There is still that barrier. It's slowly disappearing. One of the things I'm finding is that the younger group, there's way better teaching in colleges and universities on implementing technology, how you get the best out of that technology on the farm today, and that is really encouraging to us to see that happening, to see higher adoption rates, to see more interest and more enthusiasm. I think that's maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that in some ways the availability of that technology makes farming a lot more exciting, and I see a lot of younger growers diving into it, with both feet and both hands, and they are just excited. And when you see how much is happening in the way of changing tillage practices and in adopting green manure practices, things like that didn't really happen 10, 20 years ago. You see them way more now. And that is, to me, that is exciting. And I hope we at Greentronics, we can stay part of that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Bill. This has been Bill Menkveld from Greentronics. If you need more information or you want to reach out, you'll be able to see that his contact information at the end of this video. And we hope you enjoyed this video, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.